Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of ZB's Horsepower Talk. As always, I'm ZB, Zach Brown. Dad is not with us this week. He is heading up to PA Speedway to catch some sprint car racing at Williams Grove Speedway and possibly at Port Royal Speedway. But make sure you guys share, follow, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and on the YouTube channel as well, and all social media platforms. We are diving into what we saw at Atlanta. Is Atlanta now the best? Sorry, Echo Park Speedway. My bad. That's what they call it now. But is Atlanta, the new configuration, is that the best track on the circuit right now? Incredible racing in the NASCAR Cup Series. Absolutely the best race that we have seen this year. The best race we have seen on Speedway racing in a long time. It is putting on great shows year in, year out. Let's keep that rolling. That has been incredible. Chase Elliott, the hometown favorite, gets a win at Atlanta on a last lap pass. It doesn't get any better than that. It looked like Brad was able to make the blocks in the right places down the stretch, and he was doing great. The only difference is Brad's used to a much larger super speedway race, a larger drafting track such as Talladega, specifically Talladega. The way Chase was able to make those moves and keep the car stick, you dive in down there, and then I swear this car is actually worth sliding up, so I'll give him that. A little bit of a slide job. Absolutely incredible. Slid up in front of Keselowski. Keselowski wasn't able to have enough time to make a run down the backstretch. That was it. Keselowski didn't make the blocks where he needed to. He needed to go low, because that's where all of the great passes were happening. Drivers would dive down low, slide right up in front of the leader, take the lead, and it usually was temporary because they were passing every single lap. What a race. It wasn't just riding around the top, boring old NASCAR race. And I'll tell you, if it's a boring race or not, I don't care. I'm not sponsored by NASCAR or anything. I tell it like it is, and that was a really good race. I mean, I was on the edge of my seat the entire time yelling, holy shit, this is incredible the entire time. Atlanta has made it to where I need to go see one of those races in person. That was awesome to see. Good for Chase Elliott with the special paint scheme done by, it's essentially like a Make-A-Wish type thing with one of the children from the Children's Hospital. I think she was 12 years old, designed the car. Really, really cool to see that. Puts that in victory lane. What a race. I mean, just what a race. And early on, crashes happened, took out about half the field. A lot of the favorites, a lot of my fantasy lineup, a lot of everybody's fantasy lineup. And this NASCAR in-season challenge now, it is quite literally the March Madness of NASCAR right now. Who would have guessed that Ty Dillon takes out Denny Hamlin round one? Now, I was saying it's possible when I went over the bracket earlier on the last week with the bracket video I sent out. I knew it was possible. I just thought Denny would have a pretty good race at Atlanta. He had the momentum. But, I mean, you just can never predict these type of things that predict the wrecks. Just really good race. And TNT put on a really good broadcast for their first race back, which is essentially the Prime broadcast. They have really everybody that's working for Prime went over to TNT. So I'm sure there's some sort of deal or whatever between those two. I think it was good. Dale Jr. obviously made it really exciting. He's always excited on the laps, each and every lap, especially when it comes to the final stretch. Alex Bowman put on a great race. William Byron got caught up in early wreck. So did Larson. Larson was able to come back and get a finish, but the car it wasn't the same. The toe link was bent. I think it was just beyond replacing or beyond repair. They repaired it enough to get a finish. It just wasn't fast anymore. It wasn't handling the way he needed it to. I really like what they've done with Atlanta. I'm not saying they need to do that to every track because you can't have speedway racing on every track, especially for the drivers' concerns. But man, that was awesome. That needs to be a regular season finale or in the playoffs, something. Awesome race. I mean, just hats off to NASCAR. Hats off to Atlanta. I'm telling you, primetime races are great. Seeing a primetime race just makes everything so much better. It's just so much more exciting, and more people are prone to tune into it. They're going to check it out and not worry about going to work the next day. I mean, it's Saturday night. Everybody's drinking, having a good time, having a cookout Saturday night, late June. That was awesome. And now everybody's bracket and everybody's fantasy has been screwed this past week. So as I'm checking into the in-season challenge, let's see what we are dealing with now and see what my damage is really. So I obviously had Denny Hamlin and Keselowski moving on. I was wrong on that. So I'm going to switch over the screen and go through this entire bracket, and you can see what I chose, what I've been correct on, and go from there. So here's what the bracket looks like now. So yeah, you have Ty Dillon versus Keselowski this week going into Chicago, and Keselowski should win that one traditionally. He's not the greatest road course racer, but I think he can beat Ty Dillon on pure talent there. Bowman versus Bubba Wallace, because Suarez and Logano both were in a wreck. Nemechek versus Chase Elliott. I thought Josh Berry could get the job done on a speedway-type track, but Nemechek has been racing really well lately. Eric Jones versus Stenhouse. They both moved on. I picked both of them. Yeah, I got those two right. Gragson versus Priest. I did have Briscoe over Gragson, and I have Byron winning. So those are two big-time upsets that ruined a lot of people's brackets. Blaney and Hocevar. I picked Blaney, and Hocevar just was able to avoid enough wrecks. He was involved in some sort. Everybody but like 4 cars were involved in a wreck at Atlanta. But they moved on. Reddick moved on over Larson, and I expected that. McDowell and Allmendinger moved on. Gibbs moved on over Justin Haley. Zane Smith versus Cindric. Zane moved on, so it's Zane Smith versus Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher took out Gilliland. But for this week, since my entire bracket's ruined, just based on this week's matchups, and if you want to place bets on it, they do have that stuff in DraftKings, as you see right there. Ty Dillon versus Keselowski. You've got to have Keselowski in this one. Just pure talent, just got the most experience. Ty Dillon's not a great road course racer either. I think Keselowski moves on. Bubba Wallace versus Alex Bowman. Bowman got a win here in Chicago, and he just hasn't had great races. He was able to beat Suarez out by the skin of his teeth. But Bowman, I think, should be able to move on in Chicago. Nemechek and Chase Elliott. I think Chase he's one of the favorites to win this week at Chicago, and that momentum. I'd be surprised if Nemechek takes him out. This one's interesting. Eric Jones versus Stenhouse. I don't really know who you could go with. My instinct right now is to go with Stenhouse based on experience, but you never really know with these things. Jones has been racing pretty well. That camp has been, the Legacy Motorsports has been racing real well. In Gragson versus Priest, Priest is a better road course racer than Gragson. I think you'll see Priest move on. Hocevar and Reddick. Reddick will be one to watch out for this weekend. Reddick should move on. Dinger versus Gibbs this week. I'll have Dinger in this one, moving on. And Zane Smith versus Chris Buescher. That one's pretty interesting, but I'm going to go with Chris Buescher on that one to move on. So a lot of favorites this week to move on. Now who I have winning it all, Chase Elliott. He's still in it. So I mean, there's still a chance I get the winner of the thing right, but no promises there. Well, now we are getting into Chicago, the Chicago street course, streets of Chicago, whatever you want to call it, for July 4th weekend. I go on a rant every single year about it. It's dumb. I don't agree with it. I don't agree that they should go there. This is not where they should go in Chicago. This is not where they should go July 4th weekend. There's a couple tracks they need to go July 4th weekend. I still think they should stick with either Indy or Daytona, but I'd also settle for Iowa as a really cool possibility in the middle of there. And I even settle for Texas. I mean, that's a big American track Not the best racing, but Texas did all right last time. July 4th weekend, I think it should just not be in the middle of a city for NASCAR specifically. Just to me, it's not. You just don't. It doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel like I'm about to go do a keg stand for America in the middle of the streets of Chicago. I feel that way if I'm in Daytona. Feel that way if I'm Darlington. There's another one. I mean, just these traditional tracks. I mean, I love Daytona in July. It was hot and slick Saturday night. I mean, just traditionally having that. I'm a traditionalist anyways with NASCAR. I would love them to go back there, but Indy would be really cool to see July 4th weekend too. Too many road courses, too many street courses. It's starting to get a little ridiculous. They don't need the street courses. They're trying to bring some of that Formula One crowd. But here's the thing, NASCAR, your ratings are way better than Formula One anyways. This isn't going to give you a boost, not to the expectation you're thinking. People aren't just going to tune in from Formula One and into NASCAR just because they're going on the streets here, especially at a city that doesn't really care about NASCAR. If you're going to go to Chicago, go to Chicagoland. That track is amazing. Go there. All right, rant's over. It's time for our NASCAR fantasy lineup heading into Chicago. So let's bring it up on the screen right here. So the starters this week for the streets of Chicago, I'm going with some real heavy hitters. I did win fantasy last week. I've got to keep on making ground up. So I have SVG, the winner of the most recent road course. He won here in the inaugural Chicago street course. He will be in contention. He just races these street courses, road courses, just so much smoother yet harder than everybody else. Tyler Reddick, one of the best road course racers as far as all of the regular drivers, the ones that can win everywhere. Reddick is one of the better ones. Kyle Larson, one of the best road course racers in the series. AJ Allmendinger, another great road course racer. Chase Elliott, got momentum, great at road course racing. And in the garage, I do have Chase Briscoe. He is a sleeper of a road course racer. People underestimate his talent on road courses. And the featured matchups this week, Bubba Wallace versus Alex Bowman. I do have Bowman over Bubba. I just like Bowman's momentum he's getting right now. He's won at Chicago. That goes a long way. Ty Gibbs versus AJ Allmendinger. I do have Dinger, and that's the same as the in-season challenge. These are all in-season challenge. So I got Chris Buescher over Zane Smith and Tyler Reddick over Carson Hocevar. Your hot picks this week, according to DraftKings. So you got SVG, of course. That's the favorite. That's the favorite to win this race. Christopher Bell's a good bet. He will be in contention for it. Obviously, he's out of the in-season challenge, but he will be up and around. Avoiding Denny Hamlin. He's just not the greatest road course racer. He does run it well at Sonoma. We're racing at next week, but smart to avoid him. Save him for other tracks. AJ Allmendinger. It says avoid, but I don't agree with that. Yeah, he hasn't finished great in the Chicago courses, but I think he's going to be all right. I think he'll be fine. And Ty Gibbs is a sleeper here. And I agree with that. Ty Gibbs is a pretty decent is a pretty decent road course racer, underestimated. So our fantasy lineup for Dad, he does have Austin Cindric, SVG, Ty Gibbs, Michael McDowell, AJ Allmendinger, and Alex Bowman in the garage. And his feature matchups are identical to mine. Bowman, Dinger, Buescher, Reddick. Be interesting to see what happens this week in NASCAR with the in-season challenge still underway. I do like the in-season challenge. It makes it another storyline to really have and have some fun with that and the $1 million going to the winner. Now to give our race-winning picks for the week. So my pick this week, I think this guy's due for a win. He really is, and he's in my lineup. I think he's going to be fast at Chicago. I really, really do. My pick this week is Tyler Reddick to win at Chicago. Dad, he's going out on a limb this week. I can't believe he picked this. It's crazy. Out of left field. He's picking SVG to win at Chicago. And Mom's pick this week, who usually wins fantasy, is AJ Allmendinger. And that's the one they said to avoid. Well, probably not now that she revealed her pick. So you guys might want to get on top of picking Allmendinger this week. Real quick to touch on NHRA, just to go over the winners of that one. Justin Ashley, Austin Prock, Corey Reed, which is a big-time upset in Pro Stocks, and John Hall, big upset in motorcycle. Gage Herrera red lit. So, is that right? Red lighted? He done messed up. So John Hall, big-time upset, and now no one would ever guess that. Justin Ashley and Austin Prock are showing, kind of flexing their muscles now in those series, but Austin Prock especially. Starting to get pretty good in NHRA. They're off for a couple weeks now. Sprint car racing, it's in full effect right now at PA Speed Week. Kyle Larson's racing a few races up there this week. Christopher Bell's racing at Port as we speak right now, and he raced at Grandview, or Grandview postponed. I got to look at that. And this weekend, Dad will be at least at the Grove, so he'll get some content there. That'll be on the YouTube channel. Make sure you check that out. But I think really that's all we have for this week. Short and sweet, getting into NASCAR Fantasy, into the in-season challenge, and having a lot of fun with that. We'll be back in action a little bit next week. It'll be a little bit different. Might be making a call. Might be from the shoreline, going on vacation next week to the beach. So stand by on all that stuff. Make sure you check all these picks out on all the social media platforms. I'll be clipping that in that specific and going that way. Make sure you follow TikTok, Facebook, all that fun stuff, Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. Well, everybody be safe this weekend. Happy birthday, America. Let's go racing. America.